Hello, everyone. It's Lindsay, and today I'm here with a Bible journaling process as I start working through the new Faith Art Box from Creative Retreat. This is Way in the Wilderness. You have the ability to get this kit in the physical format, or you can just get the devotional alone or digital format. They have some printables, so there's lots of options for the kit this month. I'll be sure to link down below where you can find everything, and I will link my unboxing video if you want to see more details about what comes in the kit, some of the changes that have happened this month, what the kit's about, all that goodness. I will have that linked down below for you guys. So I am just diving in. This is my first time kind of opening up the kit. So I like to kind of ease my way in there and do a simple entry before I start digging in and really studying and doing the reflection questions. So I'm going to be working in Isaiah chapter 43, verses 14 through 21. This is kind of the center passage that this devotional is focusing on. And so I wanted to recreate this image here from the printables. I love this graphic with this fun kind of abstract painting. So I wanted to recreate that and then do some titles using the stickers and stamps and things like that. So I have a selection of distress paints pulled out. These are kind of like an acrylic paint, but they react a little bit different than acrylic paint. I will link my Tip Tuesday video down below that I have that shows kind of the differences about these paints if you're curious about that. But that is the main medium that I'm going to be using. And then I've also pulled out some stamp sets from Creative Retreat. These are 2 alpha stamp sets. If they're still available in the shop, I will be sure to link them down below, and I'll be using the stamp set from the kit as well. So let me go ahead and put you guys on fast forward, and we'll put this entry together. Okay, so I've gone ahead and stuck a piece of cardstock behind my page just to protect things while I paint. And then I have a plate that I have poured out some of these paints onto. Now I'm using tumbled glass, speckled egg, picket fence, wild honey, crackling campfire, seedless preserves, dusty concord, and shaded lilac, hickory smoke, and black soot. So a whole bunch of colors. You just have to go through your paints and color match to this printable here. And then I have a big wide paintbrush, and I am just brushing the paint onto the page. I did not prep the page ahead of time. These paints don't bleed through the Bible page. And I like working with these because they're a much more fluid paint than typical acrylic paint. So I'm able to blend things. They stay wet a little bit longer, so I can create this same kind of brush stroke look that you see in the printable. As you get down towards the bottom where you're mixing purples and oranges, you want to be careful that you don't overwork your blending. So sometimes you can get, and I do the same thing, I get totally in the zone and I'm just blending and blending and blending, and you don't get like a distinguishing look between the different colors that you're using. And then also when you start blending things like wild honey and seedless preserves, it's a yellow and a purple, you're going to get some muddy colors because those are opposite each other on the color wheel. So you just want to be careful as you start working towards the bottom. But I'm just going to go back and forth, and these are pretty forgiving paints. So if it gets too dark, I can add in some of that picket fence to knock things back. And then as they dry, I can add layers on top of each other. And I'm just going to continuously work until I get it to look how I want it to look. So again, I am journaling in Isaiah chapter 43, verses 14 through 21. I'm going to go ahead and read those from the NASB version. It says, "Thus says the Lord your Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. For your sake I have sent to Babylon, and I will bring them all down as fugitives, even the Chaldeans into the ships in which they rejoice. I am the Lord, your Holy One, the Creator of Israel, your King. Thus says the Lord, who makes a way through the sea and a path through the mighty waters, who brings forth the chariot and the horse, the army and the mighty man. They will lie down together and not rise again. They have been quenched and extinguished like a wick. Do not call to mind the former things, or ponder things of the past. Behold, I will do something new. Now it will spring forth. Will you not be aware of it? I will even make a roadway in the wilderness, rivers in the desert. The beasts of the field will glorify me, the jackals and the ostriches, because I have given waters in the wilderness and rivers in the desert to give drink to my chosen people. The people whom I'm formed for myself will declare my praise." So oftentimes we see in the Bible stories where God is taking people into the wilderness. He takes, Jesus goes out into the wilderness when he is tempted by Satan. We have the Israelites are taken out into the wilderness as they are traveling to the promised land. And I personally in my own life have had experiences where God takes me into the wilderness. He takes me through seasons where things look a little empty and dry and deserty and barren and hopeless and frustrating. And he does that sometimes so that we have no choice but to lean into him, to depend on him. As the Israelites went out into the wilderness, they could do nothing but depend on God. He, at certain points during that story, he was the only way that they had food or water or direction for where to go. And they had to fully put their trust in God. And then, as a result of their faithfulness and putting their trust into him, the reward was the promised land on the other end, or, something similar to that. And I've seen that in my life, as I go into a new season, new, whatever it might be, a new job or a new opportunity that God's got for me, it usually follows a period of wilderness season where I'm having to fully trust him and trust that he will make my paths known, that he will make it possible for whatever this new endeavor is that he puts before me. He creates the rivers and the food needed and whatever it might be to sustain me as I go into that new season that he is taking me. And so as we dive into this devotional, I kind of wanted to just ponder that a little bit. And that's why I like doing pages like this, where this page overall took about an hour. And there was a lot of time just spent building up layers of paint. And the entire time that I'm doing this, the entire time that I'm layering on all these paints, I'm reflecting and meditating on the various wilderness seasons that God has taken me through, and then praising him for all the ways that he showed up and was faithful and sustained me in those wilderness seasons, and whatever new things that he brought into my life after those wilderness seasons. So I'm just praising him for those. And so as I go through this devotional, I will probably do some more journaling and prayer journaling and things as I work through it. But this initial take through is just some time of meditation and just spending some time with God as I put this page together. And so I would encourage you to do the same thing as you go into these studies. So I got my background all painted on there, and then I made sure it was good and dry. And then now I'm going in with the stamp set from the kit. Now I am using some archival ink. You want to be careful about the type of ink that you stamp on acrylic paints with. Archival ink or StazOn ink is probably the best. These particular inks can be these paints can be a little bit slippery when they're dry. They're not shiny or sticky or anything like that, but they just have a very soft surface. And so you just want to be careful when you're stamping, because your stamp will have a tendency to kind of smudge or move as you stamp. So just take your time. I liked the contrast of these black stamped floral images on that vibrant background. It kind of gave you like a sunset feel a little bit. So I filled in the bottom with some of those floral elements. And then up here is where I'm pulling a phrase from the verse, or kind of a title, I guess, from the passage that I am working on here. And it's going to say, I'm about to do something new. And I'm mixing a couple of the different stamp sets from Creative Retreat. I like to try to load up as many of the alphas at one time as I can. That makes sure that everything is as straight as possible. You'll see I'm also pulling in my T-square ruler just to make sure things are straight. When you're stamping in a big open space like that, you want to make sure that things are straight, because if not, it's going to be very obvious when you don't have a whole lot going on around the title. So then over here at the bottom of the page, I'm using the alpha stickers and one of the printable words. You could also use the stamp set if you don't have the printable, and then some of those word fetties to spell out, take me out into the wilderness. I usually kick and scream when God takes me into those wilderness seasons, but there's so much growth that happens in those seasons. So I'm trying to lean in and learn to rejoice in those wilderness, deserty seasons that sometimes feel frustrating, or there's a lot of unknowns. I'm going to try to be more optimistic about those seasons and just give them as an opportunity for God to show up and do big things in my life. And it gives me an opportunity to build my faith and my trust in him and what he can do. So I went ahead and just highlighted or boxed in the passage there. And as one finishing touch, I'm just taking some more black soot paint and adding a little bit of water to it to thin it out even more, and just adding some splatters just to kind of bring up more of that black and kind of tie everything in over on this side of the page. And that is going to be it for the entry. It's actually a pretty simple entry. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave those down below. Check out the description box for links to everything that I used today. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. And until next time, thank you so much. Bye-bye.